All right, but though, straight to it. I only got a couple minutes to finish this video, so quick, right? So anxiety comes from being not authentic. What do I mean by this? So basically, to put it in simple terms, you a buster. So a lot of men have this thing where they try to reach society's standards, but society's standards leave you to be a fucking loser, right? Because not everybody's a millionaire, not everybody's tall and good looking, not everybody's this, not everybody's that. All right, so what does that leave us with? You leave yourself isolated of everybody's opinions. Leave yourself isolated from everybody's opinions. How do you do this? You detach from everything. Detach from literally everything, right? You need to go through a little phase where you detach from friends, you detach from social media, which I'm gonna be dropping a social media lesson. I'm gonna be dropping extra videos on all this so I can help you through this. But you detach from friends, social media, from work even, right? Now, obviously, you need money to pay bills and stuff like that. But if you're really suffering in life, I honestly say suck up your pride and go live with your parents. Or if you're already in your parents' house, then you have no reason not to fucking change, because they're paying everything, right? And you need to be isolated for a significant amount of time, right? Now, obviously, a lot of men are already isolated, right? They don't have friends, they don't have hobbies, they don't have bitches, they don't got, whatever the fuck, right? A lot of stuff that you think you want. But I'm be dropping a video called Locking In, but you're already isolated, right? So that video is going to be very important, but it's going to be in the future. But to just stay on this topic, right? You need to detach from literally everything, even kind of detach from yourself, right? Not in this fucking Buddhist fucking enlightenment way, right? And I'm be dropping my my testimony from third eye to Jesus Christ, right? But that's another video again. But what I mean by detachment is that you're gonna build a new identity, right? Because identity builds your self-esteem. Identity builds the confidence. Identity, your current identity has anxiety, right? Your new identity doesn't have none of that shit, right? So these are some practical steps, right? So number one, just detach from everything. Now, a common thing with most people that have anxiety is they have number one, low self-esteem and projection, right? So when you walk into a room, you I've already kind of explained this, but you want to be a magnet. But the normal person with low self-esteem, their low self-esteem is, let's say they walk into a room, they immediately project in their mind that everybody else is against them, right? Now, how does this happen? It's because usually throughout your life, you've kind of subconsciously trained your brain to be like this, right? So let's say you're a fucking loser. Let's say there's so many parts. There's like childhood trauma. There's so many fucking events that lead you up to having a brain like this, right? This is not rocket science. So first thing you have to identify, right? And this is not some basic fucking self-improvement. Oh, first you gotta identify the problem. Like, nigga, we already know you got anxiety and low self-esteem, right? But I'm just saying, you gotta identify your projections of what exactly you're projecting. These people are even thinking about you, right? So that's number one. So when you're going through this period of detachment and isolation to really rebuild yourself, you have to examine and then attack your biggest life problems, right? I'm not selling some fucking course. I'm not selling this fucking fake news of, oh, just talk in a mirror and say positive things. Oh, just think positive or all that. The people, I've thought positive and I've gotten positive results. But that wasn't manifestation. You know why I got positive results? Because I was winning in specific areas in life, right? So me thinking positive, it actually has a positive outcome because I've worked on certain areas of my life that have produced positive results. So why would I not think positive, right? Positive. I've been winning positive, right? You need to create winning systems in your life, but that's a different video, right? So first you need to realize your biggest life problems and then attack. So again, if your biggest problem in life, which it's going to be apparent, but let's say it's your weight issue, let's say it's your friend issue, let's say it's this, let's say it's that, right? You know your biggest problem in mind as soon as I said it. You need to attack that, right? And this is going to all come down to my philosophy. What is my philosophy? Evolution, right? You have an idealized self version of yourself that it's always in the back of your mind, like, oh, I wish I did that, I wish I did this, I wish I was that, I wish. It's like you have this image of yourself that is like the perfect, most perfect person ever and all. What you are not realizing though is that this person is ever evolving. Anybody who's has won in life or has gotten, let's say, close to that image, they realize that that image is ever evolving, right? That means you'll never be perfect, you'll never be this. So why are you putting that stress upon yourself, right? That's where the detachment comes, right? If you know that your perfect self is never ever gonna be, it's never gonna be, it's not, it's always gonna evolve, it's always gonna do this, then that takes all the way the anxiety of being perfect, of doing this, of being that, of being this to this person. And right, you have to, at the core of everything is power and control. That means the more control you have over yourself is the more control you're gonna have over others, right? Just like this thing, right? For me, right, there's been times in my life where I cold approach, not because I generally wanted to get the bitch. Well, I did, right? But there's a lot of times in life where, like, let's say I saw a big booty bitch. I was like, damn, I want to go talk to her. There's gonna be this thought in my head of like, nah, don't do it, because there's gonna be friction, especially if you don't do it continuously. There's always gonna be that friction, right? But then I know in the back of my mind that I will not be happy, and I will, like, it's gonna fucking tear me up if I go walk away, right? Because I don't want to be like a little fucking buster, man. If I want to go mac on a bitch, I'm gonna go mac on a bitch, right? So for me, there's been times where, yeah, I've gotten rejected, or yeah, I've gotten a number, but me just putting myself out there is me telling the world and telling myself that I don't care about all my insecurities. I don't care about anything else, right? Cold approach is one of those like most masculine things you can do, but in terms of dating, it's I wouldn't agree that it's like the best way unless you're really good looking, or unless you know the bitch wants you, right? That's the only way you should cold approach. But by putting yourself out there and by taking more action in life, you are you are taking more control over your reality, right? So you need to examine your life, you need to examine your routine, you need to examine the way you think, and you need to understand that you have to be more in control of your life, right? Now, the one thing that links this to my philosophy is that there are three ways of transformation. And this is going to be the uncomfortable part for most of you guys. So my philosophy is called evolution. It's the three ways is trauma, chaos, and momentum, right? What you're doing when you're changing your identity is that you need to, instead of these being the people that are in the trauma category, where something it's either people that wait for life to hit them, which is going to be most for you, right? Again, I explained this, I think, in one of my videos, how like the perfect example of this is like Tyler Durden in the Fight Club movie, where he's just waiting for something to hit him. He's just waiting for something to change in his life without him putting the action towards it, right? To where he created like this, what was it? The Brad Pitt nigga in his head, right? In order for him to kind of like, stay sane during the process of the movie, right? Or, in order for him to, you get the point, right? Or you either go through chaos, where you go and towards the chaos, you go towards the trauma, you traumatize yourself on purpose, because you know that being in trauma is the quickest way to change reality, and is the quickest way to change your identity, right? Now that we're, the white bitch that says about manifesting and shit, you can't control reality, but you can control who you are, right? And who you are can bring certain outcomes to you, right? This is why they always talk about just attract this and just attract that. No, you still have to be the nigga first, right? And then momentum. Momentum is just things you do to keep up with your identity, right? And it can also be used for business success. It can be used for everything. It's just like once you get the ball rolling, it rolls. You get what I'm saying? So listen. Now, the quickest ways to change identity is either going to be a physical change of your identity, or it's going to be something where you physically and internally change, right? Kind of like how you get trauma, and then you can either become a drug addict, or through trauma, right? Eventually the drug addict gets like into rehab and he changes for the better, right? So trauma can go both ways, either negative or positive, right? So you need to find something in your life, whether it's attacking your biggest life problems or something else that you need to do in your life. Like the one thing that I always give out to men, Because this seems like the one of the like the most quickest solutions that I could just give you guys for free is that if you're currently living with your parents' health, move out, and it has to be very far away from your parents, because that would traumatize you, and that would actually force you to work on yourself and force you to deal out your problems on your own, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like you're putting a fucking duck in a cage with lions, and you're the duck. You got to learn how to fend for yourself and fucking dodge life, and life is going to come and hit you, but you're going to change throughout that, right? And change, the thing with change is that it takes, sometimes it takes a long time. I think if you're creative enough, you can find a way to change in a short period of time, right? Like a lot of people who do steroids, their reality and their identity of themselves is going to change a little bit, right? A lot of them do that for insecurity, and I'm not a promoter of steroids, but there's a lot of busters out here in the world, right? But yeah, for every guy that goes on steroids and doesn't put any muscle, and he fucking actually looks like shit, and he just got acne. For every one of those guys, there's gonna be another guy that fucking is an ugly little nigga, and then he turns into fucking Mr. Chad, and now he gets everything he wants, right? But that's just how reality is. So again, my videos are not quick, they're not quick fix solutions, right? I'm giving you the honest, real truth, right? The only way to change is through evolution, my philosophy. Now just apply this to your life and be smart. Just apply it to certain areas in your life where you think you can change your identity the most, and that's how you get out this whole fucking thing of anxiety, right? Because usually the most confident people, people like me, or people that you see, damn, why is he so confident? Why when he says a joke, it's funny. Why is he so comfortable in social situations? It's because we've changed our identity enough, right? Now there's always going to be, there's the outliers, like just good looking people in general, people that naturally have good social skills or all that. But usually if you break down the core reason, it's because they have a good social feedback and a good positive feedback loop, right, while they're growing up. So the difference between you and someone who has good social skills is that when they were growing up, they were bold enough, right? They were bold enough to say a joke, and it actually landed, and that created a positive feedback loop, right? This is why I say that usually for most people, talent is just repetition, right? Mixed with good feedback loop, right? But obviously talent can be a little bit more different for other types of skills, right? Now, how does authenticity play into all this? Well, if you're already confident, if you already changed your identity, if you already gone through the pain of working on yourself and completely changing your identity, which means, right? Which means, like, I just give an example, right? Like I've always said, if you take an ugly nigga and then he becomes a good looking nigga, he's gonna get different results from different people. People are gonna treat him better, the halo effect and all this other stuff, right? But once you've changed your identity, right? This is when you have more power over yourself, right? By working on yourself and by improving, and then more power over others. Meaning that if somebody says a joke and everybody's laughing because they want to keep the social flow going, but then you have the balls to say, hey, that actually wasn't funny. And then everybody's like, they all start looking at each other, because most people talk out of anxiety. Most people have low self-esteem. Most people are suffering just like you. So if you have the balls to be authentic, that's when people are going to crave you more. That's when people are going to be like, oh shit, he's just not like the herd. He's following his own path, right? And the more authentic you are to yourself, the more you live by how you want to live, right? Now, of course, this is a Christian channel, so obviously you have to do it under Christ, right? But I'm not saying you can't have a personality. You can't, have certain likes, certain dislikes, right? But the more you are authentic to yourself, the more people are going to be like, you know what? I actually like him. And how are they going to like you? Because you're being authentic to yourself, right? Now, obviously, there's always going to be people that are going to like you for certain other things. Like if you're successful, there's always going to be leeches there and stuff like that. That's just how the world is, right? But the more authentic you are to yourself, the more you can set the rules of the social conversation, of the social flow, and about your life and potentially even others, right? Influence, right? Influence, what is influence? It's basically one person has a will, another person has another will, and the other will dominates the other, right? What is a business conversation? What is like a business, what's the word I'm looking for? What is a business, what is like a business situation where it even, and this stuff is going to be so important for your life, because even in business, right? If somebody's like, hey, I want you to, I'm going to invest your business in only like 50K, but you say, no, 200K. All a business is power moves, is power moves and when to give power, right? That's all it is, right? So how do you become great at this? Well, it's because you become powerful. You become a person where you can set the rules of how the conversation goes and flows, right? But you don't have the balls to do that because you're not confident, because you have anxiety, you have low self-esteem, and because you're not authentic. Now, maybe being you being authentic means that you're not that social. So be it. You're going to be happier because you're living by how you are designed to be, right? Through your genetics, through your psychology, through all that, right? And obviously, there's going to be a limit for other people. Other people are just never going to change. And there's losers in the world, there's busters in the world, right? The one thing that I can tell you is that you have the decision to change a bit of it, right? But anyways, this has been the Los channel. Click on the subscribe button. Look at all my other videos. They're all gold. They're all value. They're all fucking mwah, right? And I'll catch you on the next one.